The Mississippi River is drying up. Water levels in some areas near historic lows. It's already impacting supply chains and local tourism. But officials warn the situation could get worse soon.
The Mississippi, a river even you depend on. But for how long? Beneath America's most famous river lies a geological time bomb that could trigger the most catastrophic earthquakes the country has ever seen. Right now, as you're watching this video, scientists have discovered massive cracks deep in the Mississippi riverbed. These aren't from erosion. They're not from human activity. They're warning signs from the same fault system that once made the mighty Mississippi River flow backwards and killed thousands, some say millions. The last time this fault awakened, it was 1811. Trees were flattened for miles. The ground opened up like the earth was splitting apart. Church bells rang in Boston from earthquakes over 1,000 miles away. But back then, hardly anyone lived here. Today, over 15 million people call this region home. And according to FEMA, if it happens again, we're looking at over $300 billion in damage and 7 million people directly affected. The cracks are already forming. The pressure is building. The question isn't if this geological giant will wake up again, it's when, and whether we'll be ready. This is the story of America's forgotten earthquake threat and why these new cracks might be our final warning. The discovery, America's hidden earthquake threat. The Mississippi River is more than a waterway. It is America's ancient lifeblood, engraved into the landscape for thousands of years. However, something is changing behind its serene exterior. Recently, scientists revealed a stunning discovery. Huge fissures deep in the riverbed expanding in unexpected patterns. These are not a result of erosion or human action. Instead, sonar studies and satellite photographs revealed fissures indicative of tectonic forces, signs that the planet is straining. Why is this so concerning? Few people realize that the central Mississippi Valley is immediately above the New Madrid seismic zone, a region with a violent geological past. Between December 1811 and February 1812, this buried fault system triggered the most horrific earthquakes ever felt in the United States. The shockwaves were so powerful that the river flowed backwards, woods were leveled, new marshes emerged overnight, and church bells rung in Boston from nearly 1,000 miles away. Back then, sparse numbers meant little harm. However, millions of people now live on top of this volatile terrain. With new fissures forming and experts scrambling to explain them, we're forced to wonder, are these just natural fluctuations or precursors to disaster? The science behind the cracks. What lies underground? How do you detect cracks under a river that most people never notice? A team of geologists from various colleges used cutting-edge sonar, ground-penetrating radar, and satellite photography to investigate the Mississippi's bed. What they discovered astounded even seasoned professionals. Cracks range from minor surface breaks to massive underground cracks that stretch tens of meters into the soil. Their alignment and symmetry revealed tectonic stress fields, not simply sediment movement. Some cracks appear new and have even widened in recent months, particularly near the Missouri, Tennessee, and Arkansas borders. Perhaps most chilling, monitoring buoys detected considerable shifts in lateral movement over only months, prompting scientists to reconsider earthquake dangers. But the evidence did not end there. Thermal imaging revealed localized hotspots above many cracks, which might be generated by friction, geothermal activity, or the flow of subsurface fluids, perhaps even magma in rare situations. Core samples around the fissures revealed vertical disturbances in sediment layers, indicating recent energy pulses, a common indicator of pre-seismic behavior. Even more troubling, many fissures lined up exactly with dormant fault traces, which scientists had mapped but deemed inactive. Satellite interferometric synthetic aperture radar, INSAR, detected small bulges along riverbanks, indicating ground uplift, a traditional precursory indicator for earthquakes. Overall, these data suggest that the environment is alive and in change. But are these cracks releasing everyday tension or accumulating into something catastrophic? The forgotten destroyer, the New Madrid Fault. This is one of the most dangerous fault lines in North America. It is hidden under the mud and silt of the Mississippi River. In contrast to the well-known San Andreas Fault in California, which is at the border between two tectonic plates, the New Madrid Fault is within a single plate, deep inside the continent. Its earthquakes can send energy hundreds or even thousands of miles away, making them even stronger. In 1811 and 1812, 3 or 4 quakes with magnitudes of 7.5 to 7.8 were felt in the United States near New Madrid. Whole rivers briefly changed their paths, huge cracks appeared in the ground, and the landscape was changed forever. Things are much more important now. At this very moment, big towns like Memphis, St. Louis, and Little Rock are either on top of or very close to this seismic time bomb. New technology has picked up more microquakes and deep, low-frequency rumbles that are happening at the same time that cracks were just found. These things happen because of worry below, which is a silent sign that the cycle may start again. What makes the risk bigger? The rocks in the central U.S. under the Mississippi are older and denser than the rocks along the coast of California. This means that earthquakes here would send shockwaves farther, hitting more land with less energy loss. Worst of all, people are not aware of the dangers at all. In California, people always take steps against earthquakes, but a lot of the Mississippi Valley is still not ready, both when it comes to infrastructure and planning for disasters. Is this just the normal letting go of pressure, or are we seeing the pressure build up before the next big event? America's vulnerable backbone, infrastructure at risk. The Mississippi River is more than just a river. It's what keeps America's infrastructure running. For freight, business, and everyday travel, bridges over rivers are essential. But a lot of them were built decades ago, before current earthquake safety rules, and a big one could break them, buckle them, or even destroy them. Lines for oil and gas? There is a dense network that moves millions of barrels of oil every day from refineries to key markets along the river route. A rupture caused by an earthquake could set off explosions, damage the environment, and cut off fuel supplies to whole areas. Like dams and levees? It was mostly made to protect against floods, not earthquakes or ground movement. During high water season, a rupture could flood whole towns and make emergency services too weak to handle the situation. Also at risk are power plants, including nuclear plants. Even though safety rules are very strict, they can't stop structures from falling apart in terrible ways. There could be a lot of damage if cooling systems, intake lines, or power links are cut. Not only are big towns like Memphis, St. Louis, and Little Rock close to the epicenter, they are also major shipping and hospital hubs for the whole world. A single big earthquake could make it hard to move goods, get power, or get medical help to large places. FEMA says that an event on the scale of New Madrid could easily cost more than $300 billion. In addition to the cost in money, as many as 7 million people could be directly affected by things like fires, collapsed buildings, uncertainty, and broken utilities. This area just isn't ready for a long-term situation. The most scary? A lot of people don't know they live on top of a very busy fault, and the public isn't taught nearly enough about how to be ready for earthquakes. Monitoring the giant, racing against time. What will happen if bad things happen again? Here is a more in-depth look at what would happen if the New Madrid fault broke today. It's possible for major highways to fall, bridges to become impassable, pipelines to break, and water, power, and phone networks to go dark for weeks. It would be hard to get food, medicine, and power. A lot of people could be moved. In some places, the Mississippi River might even change its direction, which would flood new towns and stop shipping for weeks. Scientists aren't just sitting around, though. Advanced GPS trackers, seismometers, and deep borehole sensors have been used by teams from the USGS and top colleges to watch the ground's every move. New data shows something called creep, which is the Earth slowly and steadily moving. This can mean that stress is building up quietly before a breach. INSAR monitoring from space lets us watch changes in the ground to within millimeters, which we can't see with the naked eye. Radon and helium gas emissions can now be tracked by new chemical monitors. These gases are often early signs of stress in the ground. The best way for us to avoid tragedy is through this web of technology, but it's not perfect. Predicting earthquakes is still one of the hardest things for scientists to do. All experts agree, getting ready early is very important, The federal government needs to put money right away into tracking systems, fixing up old infrastructure, and teaching people better about disasters. After all, the cracks could be the only sign of a big quake, and they are already here. It's clear that the cracks in the Mississippi River are more than just features on the surface. They're holes in our shared beliefs about safety, history, and being ready. Will we listen to these alerts before it's too late? Leave your ideas below. Do you live near the Mississippi? Have you or your city done anything to get ready? Please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you want to see more in-depth looks at the things that are changing our world before it goes bad.